Sometimes I just sit in front of the camera and wait for the inspiration to come, and sometimes it doesn't. I don't know what it is about this particular video that's so hard to start. I don't know what it is about this subject matter that makes me pause and not want to talk openly. I've been fairly open on my YouTube channel before. I'm fairly open in any avenue where people might see this, but there's something about talking about it in this way. There's something about talking about it on camera that feels really different. Anyway, I'm just gonna go for it, I guess. So this is my coming out story. I just want to start this video, before I say anything, by saying it does have a happy ending. Stick with it. And I love all of the people that I mention. All of them. Understand that before you watch the rest of this. Okay, here we go. I was in grade 5 when the name calling and the bullying, I guess you'd call it, started. I went on a school camp and I performed a song about a galah, which is an Australian native parrot, in case you don't know what a galah is. And I performed this song in front of people, and there was mixed schools groups or something. There was people from other schools there, and the song was called Gary the Galah. And afterwards, for the rest of the week, kids from another school started just yelling Gary the Gay Galah, and I didn't know what that meant, but I knew it was mean. I knew it was an insult. That's when it started, was in grade 5. That's how long I carried teasing and bullying and name calling around. And then I went off to high school, and that was an experience. When I started high school, it was grade 8, and I dated some girls. That is like the loosest possible definition of the word dating, I guess. I think I kissed their cheek once each. It's pretty romantic stuff. Towards the end of grade 8, I started coming out to friends. It started with the words think and might, because they're the words that you use when you're a kid and you don't know what you're doing and you don't know who you are. I went to an intensely conservative Christian school. It's part of the Brethren tradition, and that's a really conservative strain of the Christian church. I'd grown up in a Christian home, Christian everything, my whole life. I was surrounded by church and Jesus and evangelical Christianity. The kind of conservatism of my school was kind of new, because in some ways my parents had always been fairly liberal and just let me do whatever I wanted. As a kid, I dressed up as a girl all the time. I would kind of play with gender all the time. I played with girls' toys, I played with boys' toys, and you weren't allowed to put gel. It was the 90s and early 2000s, and that's what you put in your hair in that time. But you weren't allowed to use gel or like product in your hair, because that was wrong for some reason. You weren't allowed to dye your hair. I had to wear a tie every day in winter. I think back on it and I still can't understand what they were trying to achieve, because none of it stuck with me. I could still just do whatever I want. Anyway, so that was kind of the background of my school. It was really, really conservative. But I landed in this crazy friendship group. I had almost all female friends. I was kind of casual acquaintances with some guys throughout high school, but I had this group of women who were amazing and strong and powerful people in my life, and just such an incredible influence on me. But that's who I hung out with. And for some reason, that wasn't enough of an indication. I was finding out who I was. I got a computer for the first time. I got it in my room eventually. The internet let me learn a whole bunch of stuff about myself. Like, the bullying and the teasing didn't really stop, and I had a fairly high-pitched voice. I still have a fairly high-pitched voice, and I pitch it down when I'm talking now. And I was kind of dramatic and flamboyant and loud and silly, and I was like that all through school, and it was almost in defiance of the scorn and the ridicule that I used to receive. So like people used to call like across really significant distances. I can't believe this used to happen. Kids are so dumb sometimes. People used to say something because my voice was camp and high and girly, and that was just called out to me as I would walk across like the field or whatever it was. It was just the most stupid thing. That was my high school. It was kind of traumatic. I never really felt like I fit in anywhere except with this group of girls who made me feel so accepted. I didn't quite fit into the culture of the school. I was really anti-authoritarian. I was really anti kind of conservative rules. I was made a leader on the leadership team, and I was very quickly kicked off the leadership team because I questioned authority in many instances. The questions of authority that I did, though, I feel like were valid questions, and I had genuine concerns which I was raising and were not being addressed. And that got me kicked off the leadership team. I'm not resentful, I've gotten over it. It was like 10 years ago and I'm still like, I can't believe I was kicked off the leadership team. This is untenable. Getting out of school was just like this tremendous weight off my shoulders. I had kind of two friends that I hung out with all the time. Shout out Ashley and Mel for being those people for me. So I'd been like out to all my friends for ages. Everyone in my life kind of knew except my family. I hadn't told my family, except I did tell my now sister-in-law. My sister-in-law kept that secret for 5 years. That is a debt that I cannot repay. Knowing that I had someone in my corner who wasn't gonna betray my trust. I went to acting school and it was great, and I kind of discovered who I was even more, and I really started finding myself and the things that I liked and what I liked about myself. Brokeback Mountain comes out. There's a ad or a trailer or something on TV. I took a bit of a plunge and I said to my mum, I really think that it's gonna win some Oscars. It looks like it's gonna win some Oscars, which I was obsessed with. From everything that I've heard, it sounds like it's a really great movie, and my mum reacted really negatively to that. We talked, and I told her that I think, and I might be gay. I'd been out for, I didn't even know, like a really long time to my friends, maybe 5 or so years by that stage. It felt weird to say think and might, but I was hedging my bets, I guess, and using distancing language to try to make it easier for me to tell her. I just kept being me. I'm in acting school and I met my now partner, then boyfriend. We never really called each other boyfriends back then either. I feel like that's something we missed. And I didn't tell my parents for like 2 months while we were dating, because I didn't know how they'd react. I lied a lot about where I was going and what I was doing. I felt like I needed to do that. I felt like I couldn't tell them. It got to a point where my parents were going away for a holiday. I just couldn't not tell them anymore. And I thought I would tell them before they went away on holiday because that would give them time to go away and think about it. I don't really want to go into the specifics, but it went really badly. It just so happened that the night after I came out, my dad received a prank call from someone totally random. It just triggered even more stuff, which was negative. My parents' reaction was not great. There may have been some lecturing, some telling me that I was wrong. When I get angry and when I get upset, I get very calm, and I was really, really angry. And I remember sitting in kind of stunned silence, not able to process what this would mean. For the first time in my life, actually, I felt like my parents didn't love me, and that was confronting. Like they thought I was wrong or broken or damaged in some way. There was this idea that my sexuality was somehow a behavior that I had chosen to impose upon myself and not an intrinsic part of what makes me a human being. And that didn't, of course, sit well with me. What they believed was a rejection of my behavior, I felt as a rejection of my humanity. And that was really tough. My parents tolerated when I would disappear for a weekend to hang out with my partner. It was uncomfortable and it was incredibly awkward at home because the disapproval was very strong. But they kept telling me that they loved me while I felt like they didn't. So we'd been together for about a year when we decided to move in together, to which my parents did not approve. Things were tense but not terrible. So we'd been together for about 2 years when we decided to move to Melbourne from Brisbane. I asked my parents whether or not my partner and I could stay with them. They said yes, but we would have to sleep in different rooms, and we'd been living together for 2 years at this stage. So I met with my mum to talk about it. She said that we weren't married. And I said I can't get married. If I did get married, if I went overseas to get married, would you come? And she said no. I'd thought at the time that we'd moved past that they'd come to accept me. And I realized then that they hadn't. That Christmas was really awkward, and it was really hard not for me to cut them out of my life. We were angry. I was angry. We've been living now in Melbourne for nearly 4 years. It was only really recently that I was in Brisbane. Mum asked whether or not the bed that I was sleeping in would be comfortable for both me and my partner. It was this huge thing which I had to really subtly be like, yeah, I think that'd be okay. I never thought this would happen. I don't know where they are up to, but that was a huge step forward. And I don't worry so much that if I invited them to my wedding, they wouldn't come. It undid a lot of that hurt. It undid a lot of the anger. It's really complicated sometimes, and it took my parents a really long time. But we're better now. It got better. I live in Australia. I can't get married. I'm a second-class citizen. I don't have the same rights that straight people have. But it is getting better. My relationship with my parents is better. My understanding of myself is better. I don't know what's next, but it's probably better.